Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Paranormal Psychic Live. I've decided to start these lives earlier because I know that some of you tune in from Europe, from Asia, South America, Australia, and I know that it's 20 after 7 in the UK, 20 after 8 in Rome, 20 after 9 in Athens, Greece. So I decided to have this live earlier, at an earlier time to see. So today I'm going to go into a recap about the lives in Greece. The paranormal investigation, I did not get a chance to go live on here. And if that's something that you're interested in, I have seen with the lives that I've here in the United States for the investigations, that there is interest in the lives when I go live, and there are those of you that are tuning in live during the live investigation. So I did post a replay of the paranormal investigation in Athens, Greece. That was the weekend before last. Also, there were some glitches. I had major Wi-Fi issues, and it's not like the next investigation, which is going to be May 13th in Fort Lauderdale, that I'm in the States. I will bring a hotspot. So I ran out of time to go live with all of you because also I had my cousin with me and she wasn't feeling well. And that's why I posted the replay, everyone, of the paranormal investigation in Athens, Greece last weekend. And that is Cyprus behind me, Kipro. This is a picture of him marching in the Greek parade in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this past Sunday, I mean. So the next paranormal investigation, which I do plan to go live on here, even if it's a half hour, is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That is Wednesday, May 13th. A paranormal Carmen investigation. What's fake, Carmen? We're going to give you... Hi, Carmen. What's fake? Are paranormal investigations fake? Is that what... Or am I misunderstanding you? Because if I'm misunderstanding you, please clarify. So, I'd like you to elucidate, expand on, you said hi, and then you said fake. So what's fake? Is Cyprus fake? Because he's a real dog. Hi, M. Poom. So I was talking about the paranormal investigation in Athens, Greece. I do have the replay up, part of the replay, and I was saying this. Also, if you can let me know where you're tuning in from, too, that's a help for me because I've decided at this point to have these lives, at least for me here on the East Coast of the United States, earlier in the day, because I know you're tuning in from time zones that it's much later in the day for you, where it's mid-afternoon here for us on the East Coast of the United States. So we conducted, me and my cousin Natasha, which the replay is up, at this local new park in Athens, Greece, which is haunted. It's also near Athens First Cemetery. So I did go live with all of you from Athens First Cemetery, and I did tell you all some ghost stories connected to Athens First Cemetery in Athens, Greece as well. And the park where we conducted the investigation is literally maybe a 5-minute walk from Athens First Cemetery. And people say one of the reasons why the park is haunted is because it's so close to the cemetery. Also, when I was talking with Jonathan Bright, who's a paranormal investigator in Greece, he's been on the History Channel in search of aliens. He's gotten actual verified pictures of the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland. Jonathan was explaining to me that there's also Nazi soldiers buried in that park from World War II. That there was a resistance in Greece and they buried these German Nazi soldier bodies. So when the Germans came looking for their soldiers, they were not able to find them. Now, when we conducted the investigation, I did ask if there were any of these soldiers with us during the investigation. We got no answer. And I know my cousin had said that was a question she was very interested in. The replay that's up was the slower part of the night. And if you've ever thought about conducting a paranormal investigation, too, saying this, I did an investigative locale preview, and I believe I did that with all of you, that because next month's investigation is outdoors as well. So what I did when I told you all the ghost stories and the investigative locale preview was that I mapped out possible locations within the park to lay out the equipment. And when we started the investigation, actually the location that was number 5 on the list that I thought would be the least likely active, and when we arrived, was the only location we could set up the equipment because there were kids playing inside the enclosure on the swings, on the slides, so on, so forth. That location that I thought would be least active in the park was actually the most active of the investigation. So that's what too, if you conduct an investigation, especially when it's outdoors, it makes it easier if you do a preliminary scan walkthrough of the ground. So you don't just go there and like, where am I going to put the equipment? I don't know. We were able to cut to the chase, and obviously too, say Natasha wasn't feeling well, so she was sitting on the bench. It saved time is my point. If you've ever conducting a paranormal investigation somewhere. So the first hour was really hopping, a lot of activity. The replay that is up that you can watch, and I'll say this, I think I'm going to be back in Greece this autumn, which means I'd be willing to do a live of the park with all of you on here. Now, again, I had massive Wi-Fi challenges too, and being out of the country, I was at a loss of my hotspot doesn't work out of the United States, for example. So the investigation was a success. We got a lot of communication and interaction throughout the investigation, especially the first hour. I mean, it was on fire. Natasha was saying, what a difference from what you have of the replay, the 25 minutes. Too. So the part of the investigation that you can watch the replay here, then we were able to move, this was the second location, which was number 1 on the list to lay out the equipment, which were the swings, but the equipment was laid out near the swings and in the enclosure. What was interesting though, compared to choice number 5 to lay out the equipment, was actually number 1 for activity. And number 1 on the list to lay out the equipment was a lot more quieter than the first hour of the investigation. And it does with the energies, certain spirits and or ghosts, it's like they come in shifts. And 2, when you move equipment to another location, you can try to see if during where you laid out the equipment at one location, if you get contact with someone you asked for, let's say an hour before. And we had that happen with the investigation. The sleeping maiden statue, if you watch the replay of me telling ghost stories at Athens First Cemetery, there's the sleeping maiden statue, very famous. In Greek, she is called Ikimomeni. The first hour of the investigation, I asked if she was with us, and we got no. The replay that's up, if you listen to 24 minutes, that was all that it recorded. It was almost as though I wasn't meant to really have a recording of most of the investigation. That 24 minutes, I ask if she's with us, and we get a yes. And I asked her, because there's two versions of how this Sophia Afintaki passed, the sleeping maiden statue. You can watch also the Athens First Cemetery video. The two versions are that she passed from tuberculosis. And then the other version is that she was in love with this Italian opera singer, Mario Giovanni. He was the love of her life. It's the 1800s. Her father forbids her to be with him. Now, it could be matters of religion, Greek Orthodoxy to Catholicism. The Greek culture, especially in the 1800s, was very strict of marrying Greek, even though Italian is very close. And I can only say in the United States that it's considered a pretty good second choice in Greek culture in the 21st century. There's not as much pissed offness that you could get from your Greek family. So anyway, when we were conducting the investigation, I asked her about how she passed, and what she answered was it was tuberculosis, and the father forbid her to be with the love of her life, Italian opera singer Mario Giovanni. So that was very interesting. And saying what's a bit different about my investigations is I combine ghost and also spirit if the activity's slow or where my senses take me. I'm realizing I should have had a water here next to me. And where my senses take me, also too, sometimes I ask if anyone in the spirit world is with us. So I was with my cousin was with me for this investigation. So the last 2 months, it's been all female investigations. That's going to change next month in Fort Lauderdale. Eric should be with us for that investigation in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And then what I asked next was, because we're cousins, I asked if there were relatives in the spirit world that are related to both of us. And we got no. And then I assumed, okay, it's obviously somebody connected to me. Well, I assumed wrong, I was pleasantly surprised to assume wrong. And I said, well, is it someone related only to me? And the answer was no. So then I said, because then you don't know if you're going to get an answer to what you're asking. Sometimes you get no answer too, which is an answer during an investigation. Then I asked, is the relative that's here only related to Natasha? And the answer was yes. So then I asked if it was Natasha's grandmother on her mother's side. The answer was no. I asked, is it Natasha's grandfather on her mother's side? The answer was no. Then I said to Natasha, and this is we're saying where my investigations are different than what you see on TV, because also as a medium and having an ability and also getting answers from spirits telepathically, that I spin it into questions, hoping they'll verify with the equipment what they've told me that you get to see in real time, equipment activated to verify the information that I'm receiving, that I'm spinning as a question for all of you. Is then I said to my cousin, I said, well, Natasha, I said, what does your instinct tell you who it is visiting you from the spirit world? And Natasha asked, is it my godmother? And the bell went bing. Now, also knowing my cousin, and she's very open-minded. Obviously, she was with me in the investigation. She knows all about me and how I work and what I do. My senses said to me that that was enough of an interaction for Natasha with her godmother. I then I shifted elsewhere because that was enough growth in that moment for her. Okay, saying, so when you do ask the questions, they are experimental. You may not get an answer. You may get an answer. You may get an answer you weren't thinking was the answer. Like I'm saying, like that with the relatives. I was pleasantly surprised it was just someone for Natasha. Then also because I asked Natasha, I said, well, what's your godmother's name? And she said, Sophia. So here's a synchronicity. When I was telling you about the sleeping maiden statue, and that statue was for the tomb of a Sophia Afendaki in the 1800s. It's very famous, the sleeping maiden statue. One of the most famous, if not the most famous statue at Athens First Cemetery. This is a synchronicity. We made contact with Afendaki, which is in the replay that's up here. And I said, if I can go live at the park, I'm trying to return in the fall. I can do that with all of you. I will give you first up on deck. I will go back and go live with you from the park in Athens, Greece. So her godmother's name being Sophia, the sleeping maiden statue, making contact with Sophia Afendaki, her godmother's name being Sophia. Carl Gustav Jung, the father of spiritual psychology. Carl Gustav Jung was psychic. He wrote his doctoral dissertation on psychic mediumship. Carl Gustav Jung refers to that, two Sophias being present in the spirit world. That's a synchronicity. Okay, so to say with that, at that we were experiencing synchronicity, that replay, which is up on here, 24 minutes. So it was a successful investigation. Okay, moving forward, next month, I am conducting an investigation in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That is Wednesday, May 13th. Now, if you're not in the United States time zone, that could be very late your time, because by the time I get to you on YouTube, we are sometimes 2 hours, maybe more into the investigation. And Florida is East Coast time zone. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with Athens, Greece. I'm going to walk you through an investigative locale preview. I'm going to tell you a couple ghost stories about the location as well. What I'm thinking, because a lot of you are tuning in out of the country, I probably will go with all of you first with the locale preview, because that we're doing during the daytime. And because this is more international on here of listeners, I mean, I do have people in the United States and in my time zone that do tune in. I'm thinking of going first with all of you with the investigative locale preview and then telling you the ghost stories. And I got a lot of positive feedback. We like this, that you walk the area connected to the ghost stories and tell us ghost stories. So I'm planning to do the same with Fort Lauderdale. Right now, that's May 12th for investigative locale preview, ghost stories, during that live. Wednesday, May 13th, the investigation. Now, here again, are some variables when you conduct, again, this investigation is outside, the same as Athens, Greece. All the other investigations that I've gone live on here with all of you were indoors. So if it was raining, it didn't affect the investigation. If it's raining, we can't conduct the investigation because I have equipment. If it rains on the 13th, then the rain date is the 14th. And then if the rain date, it rains Wednesday and Thursday, the rain date is then the end of June, saying. But I think we'll be okay with the weather, but that is still 2 weeks away, saying with that. So this is an investigation that I did film ghost stories at last year. I believe I have those ghost stories uploaded here on YouTube, but I'm going to tell them to you in real time, and I might tell you more together in a bundle because there are multiple houses in the area where we're investigating, and it's not the only house that's allegedly haunted in the area that it's in Fort Lauderdale. Also next month, and again, this is outdoor filming, I am planning to film a ghost story at a cemetery we filmed a ghost story at last year. I did not focus on this second ghost story because it involves getting scratched. And not to freak people out, it's not what, for me as a psychic medium, it's not what I gravitate towards or have an interest in getting scratched, honestly. Though, when we filmed the one ghost story about the mother of Miami, Julia Tuttle, which I think is on this page, you'd have to scroll down to my Florida ghost story videos on here. I focused on the mother of Miami. Now, I knew the second ghost story was about this woman, and allegedly when people are in the cemetery, she scratches them. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to film that ghost story because it's not what I'm into. Anyway, after we filmed in Miami last year, it was about a year ago, the next day, I noticed that there were 11 scratches like here in the middle. Now, sometimes when when you scratch yourself and you're like, hey, how did I scratch myself? A lot of times it's like a long line or something. But in the middle, it was like an 11 that it made. So when I saw it, I realized I got scratched at the cemetery. Did it hurt me? Not at all. I had not felt it until I saw it the next day. I realized, but at that point anyway, I was so exhausted. I was just like, whatever, I got scratched. But the reason she scratched me was because she wants me to tell her story. So the plan is to go to that cemetery and tell her story for all of you. I did not take the scratch as malevolent or mean-spirited. I took it as, hey, I want your attention. You didn't give me any attention when you were in the cemetery. You just focused on Julia Tuttle. Hey, I'm here too. And I talked about this with Robin, who's a paranormal team, Spirit Chasers. And Robin said, you got to go back and film it, because they have an episode here on YouTube where they investigated Tripod Rock that's in northern New Jersey, and her investigative partner, Tori, they have, like you see in the ponytail, she gets yanked and it looks like a welt of like a claw scratch on her neck, right? So they're filming, they have this. Now that, from what I watched, seemed to create a discomfort for Tori at the least, and saying where my scratch, there was no discomfort. I also did not feel it at the time it happened. I saw it the next day, and then I pieced together, well, there is a scratch story connected with that cemetery. I'll say this for myself. I don't like getting scratched, and we go back to film this story. I am going to ask her not to scratch me. We'll see if she respects my boundaries. I'd like to think she would, because I've come back just for her to film her story. Saying that too. And this is, I say this all the time in the lives and in the comments of these ghost story videos. Give the ghost a chance to respect your boundaries. If the noise is you're staying in a hotel room and they scare you, or the door's opening and closing on its own, or the lights are flickering and it's not flickering in the rest of the hotel, say out loud, give the ghost a chance to discontinue opening and closing the door, flickering the lights, turning the TV on and off, hearing a knock on the wall, right? And nobody there knocking at wall. You want to give that ghost a chance to respect your boundaries, and also explain to them, like they're sitting across from you, I understand this is your space, but you opening and closing the door makes me very uncomfortable. Turning the TV on and off, it's scary for me. I'm very nervous now. Talk to them. See if you can reason with them to stop it. Now, if you like it, hey, that's something else. But you want to give them a chance. And by talking out loud, you give them a chance to understand how it's making you feel, saying with this. So, okay, so that's coming up next month. Also Saturday, I am planning to go live from a paranormal expo. That'll be the next live. At the White Hill Mansion in Fieldsboro, New Jersey. I probably will go live with all of you first. I'm thinking for a half hour because of the time zone difference. Again, if you can let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, this helps me know where you are in the world and what time it is where you are, because I have other lives. I have 2 other lives. And everyone is mostly really in, if not all of them, they're in the United States. So it determines the times that I go live. Saying, so the next live is going to be at a paranormal expo. See, and again, wherever you're tuning in from in the world, in the United States, we have lots of paranormal expos. Lots of them. That, if you decide to travel throughout the country, you could definitely probably go to one every month. Like there's this Paranormal Expo Saturday that I'm going to go live from. So you get to see inside an expo, especially in other parts of the world where you don't have these expos. That's saying, I don't know of one in Greece, to give you an example, right? And I was in Greece really most of this month. Saying there is a paranormal community, but it's not like here in the United States. It pales compared to the United States. We have lots of paranormal expos. There's another one in June. Saying, to give you an example, there's one every month. There was one in Atlantic City, New Jersey this month. Last week, just this past Saturday, actually. We have lots of paranormal expos here, but I want to at least, I'm going to go first with you again because the time zone difference, just to show you at least a half hour inside a paranormal expo. Is it something you would be interested in? There's vendors, there's paranormal investigators, there's psychic and psychic mediumship readings, but you get to see in real time the expo. So that's going to be the next live here, and that is going to be Saturday. That will be Saturday afternoon, New York time zone. I'm thinking around 1 p.m. New York time. That's what I'm thinking. But, what time everything unfolds, there's a lot of moving parts because I've never been to this location before. I do also plan to film some ghost stories. That's also, too, in the lives. I also talk about where am I filming this week. there's some ghost stories connected because they conduct paranormal investigations where the expo is, and it's allegedly super very haunted. And I know from 222 PIR, which has a podcast, Stay Haunted, on here, Monday nights, 9 p.m. New York time, they've told me they've conducted investigations there. So Saturday, I'll also be filming ghost stories and going live. And like I said, I think I'm going to go live with all of you first because of the time zone difference. Okay, also, where am I filming this week? So if you are in the United States and you are in New Jersey, because I do give priority to filming New Jersey ghost story videos, especially in certain counties of the state, I am back in Mays Landing on Thursday filming more stories. Saying throughout my social media, Mays Landing gets a lot of attention and interaction and views. And I'm also going to see at a location if I can set up a paranormal investigation that you could attend and or an overnight, because it also is an inn. But that meeting is in 2 days. So I'm going to put that out there. I'm just also looking now too when I wrote here in the notes, actually the moon has moved into Libra. So that's Thursday. I'm filming in Mays Landing and Fieldsboro, New Jersey. That's this week. And then the following week, I'd like to film in Atlantic City more videos and the Pine Barrens, because that's where throughout my social media, there's a lot of interest. Again, I take suggestions. Let me know what you're interested in. Okay, let me see. I talked about the park. I talked about Fort Lauderdale next month, because Saturday is going to be the Paranormal Expo. I'm not going to be talking. It's not going to be a sit down live. It's going to be a standing live, most likely. So, okay, talked about Miami. I talked about the next live being Saturday from the Paranormal Expo. Now, so I'll go into a little bit of astrology. And so the moon is in Libra now. So, I've been in the reading room today. I've wrapped up readings for the day. I do take one-on-one appointments. You can always fill out a request form at www.elenipsychiatrologer.com. That is www.elenipsychicmediumastrologer.com. I've been reading for 30 years, one-on-one appointments. Well, now I'm going to go into some astrology too now as I move into this part of discussion during the live. So the moon, which is your emotions and health, and I don't medically diagnose anyone. I'm a doctor of philosophy, not medicine. You'll never hear me say cancer, heart attack, stroke. I really rail against any psychic or medium who doesn't have medical training even daring to say that to someone. I think it's highly unethical. That's my thoughts. So the moon right now has moved into Libra. And I've been saying this since this morning. It's mid-afternoon here on the East Coast in the United States. Libra moon, which is the next couple days, I believe now through Friday, it's a very social, chatty placement of the moon. People like to talk. They want peace. They want balance. They want a nice cocktail party. They want a nice fancy dinner. They want a romantic date. They want to feel elated, charmed, feel charming, wear something nice that makes you feel good, do something different with your makeup, something that makes you feel, because Libra energy is also Venus, it's Aphrodite, something that makes you feel more vibrant about yourself and your energy. That's the mood the next couple days. People want a good conversation now through Friday. And I'm going to say this, the full moon is Friday in Scorpio. And I've been saying this since last night with another live is I know yesterday I was driving home from a nature walk, and when I looked up in the sky, it was daytime and the moon was visible. It felt already full. So you do really want to the next couple days really watch, may not be yourself, but other people, external circumstances. It's a very intense full moon because the moon is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is a heavy, intense energy. So you may not become imbalanced, but very good chance someone around you, someone you work with, someone in your family will not handle this full moon well. Now, others of you will handle it well and take that strength of energy and invigorate yourself. But Scorpio moon is a difficult placement of the moon because now Scorpio is housed in emotions, and Scorpio feels, you could say, at times too intensely as it is. So this full moon packs an extra level of emotional intensity to it. So especially leading up to the full moon, definitely Friday. If you, I don't know if you can lay low, maybe think about laying low with the full moon, which is Friday. Also, we have Uranus, which is the planet of sudden shocks and changes. Just Saturday night, New York time, about 9 p.m. New York time, moved into Gemini. We don't get Uranus changing signs often. It was dancing in and out of Gemini since last year. It made its final move now Saturday night, and it's going to be there until 2033. Uranus is a planet of sudden shocks, changes, unpredictability. It's great for like lightning flashes of ideas coming in, kind of feeling like out of nowhere all of a sudden. It works better now in Gemini. It harmonizes better than it did in Taurus because Gemini's energy meets with the energy of Uranus. As you know, I've been talking about this with friends and saying, well, what do you think of the Uranus in Gemini? And one of my friends, he was saying, well, it's going to be great for technology the next 7 years and AI. And I have really mixed feelings myself about AI. I think you can do incredible things with AI, and I think it also stunts. It can stunt your own creativity because you're letting someone else create, or you're letting some mechanism create. When you create, it's a whole other level of experience. But AI has its pluses and minuses. Some of these videos that I post on here with the little kids playing in the park, that's an AI video. Or those astrology videos I posted recently with Aries and Taurus, those are AI videos. The Las Vegas 2, one the casino, those are AI. Now, what's interesting, that AI is available in the United States. When I was in Greece, it was not available if I was on Greek Wi-Fi. Saying. So it's also interesting on a global level what you have access to through where as well. But Gemini is a very quick energy. It's spontaneous. It goes for it. It's more of a risk taker than Taurus is, or it is a risk taker and just goes for it and lets the chips fall and has the mindset, well, I'll see where the chips fall and then what to do then if I need to pick up the chips or not. Hi, Grace Allen. I'm talking about astrology right now. If you could let me know where you're tuning in from, that is very helpful to me. But, I was saying this in the reading room all day today. It's what you do with energy. I wasn't saying with the full moon Friday, like hide under the covers, because you can do, yeah, I know home, but what country? Are you in the United States? You know, what country are you tuning in from? Because that helps me with knowing the time to go live on here. And the next live is going, oh, you're in Arkansas. Okay, so you're in United States, right on. So you're, let's see, is it 1 p.m.? Is the time 1 p.m.? Are you 2 hours behind New York time? I don't have access inside my phone when I'm live, and I don't have another phone near me. So I'm thinking you're 2 hours, 2 hours before New York time. I'm assuming it's almost 1 p.m. by you. Okay, very good, Arkansas. Excellent. I'm curious what the paranormal pulse is in Arkansas. I have not been to Arkansas. Two, what is the pulse with the paranormal, the psychic, ghost stories, you know? Is there a community there in Arkansas for all of that? I ask that as a question. Like I know Texas. Oh, okay, so you're an hour. Okay, so you're an hour before New York time. Okay, so it's basically 2 p.m. and here it's 3 p.m. Okay, very good. Thank you for answering. I appreciate that because again, knowing you're in the United States, it gauges, saying I have 2 other lives that the audience is really entirely United States, if not all United States. But here I've had Asia, I've had South America, Europe, Australia. So I fiddle more with the time. But Saturday I'm going live from a paranormal expo if you're interested in that. I'm thinking probably 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, give or take, at least for a half hour. You can see inside the Paranormal Expo. That's the plan for the next live, and that's on Saturday. This coming Saturday. Friday is the full moon. So, you know, pay attention to that because it's going to be a really super mega intense day. Say this. Oh, you did not go to school and you did not go to work. So what level schooling is that you did not go to today? Is that high school? Is that university? Just looking where I don't have a water on the table. I'm just sliding back. Let me see if I can do this. I'm sliding back a second. Everyone, give me here to grab a water because after talking, I get a little parched. Yeah, it could be, you know, if you want to, because too, I am getting into the wind down of the live. You have a basketball game this Saturday. Is that high school or university? I'm thinking high school. Am I correct? Or is that university? Wait, yeah, university, the spring semester is in session. It is the wind down to get ready for exams. I taught at the universities over 20 years. So I'm just thinking with the calendar, even though I'm not on that calendar anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's, well, right, you listened to what, you know, why you didn't go. You're in high school, and the reason we didn't go is because we in the gun at my job and at my school. Okay, so you are in high school, so my senses were correct. So I'm assuming you're somewhere between 16 or 17. If you want to correct me on that, you can. If you don't want to correct me on that, you can. I'm not understanding. I understand you saying you're in high school. And the reason are you saying the high school was in lockdown? Or am I misunderstanding that? Because you have the gun word here. but I'm not understanding why we didn't go, because we makes it seem more than just you not going to school today. So to understand that. So I'm just looking through my points. So I did go over everything for the live. The next live is going to be this Saturday from the Paranormal Expo in Fieldsboro, New Jersey, that you get an inside look. I'm thinking definitely a half hour just to show you inside. Like I said, I probably will go first with you, but, you know, sharing that, you know, also there are United States people, and I have had on here in previous lives, people from the States tuning in. It was just lately, it was more international, but with sharing with Arkansas, it's also now turning wheels also here with the States. And I am back. Your school is under a bomb threat and a girl sweat. So my job, I'm sorry to hear that your high school is under a bomb threat. That's awful. I'm sorry that that's going on. You're 21, but 21, you're in high school, 21 years old. Seniors are 17 to 18 years old. So I'm sorry to hear that that's going on, but I'll say this, you can always subscribe to my channel. I am planning to be back on Saturday from the Paranormal Expo, even if it's a half hour. And then I probably will have one more sit down live like this before I'm in Florida. That's the plan. So I'm going to wrap up this live. You can always watch the replay. Stay safe, everyone. It is a full moon Friday. You know, as Grace was just sharing, this can be one type of energy that's out there. So, you know, trust your senses too. And what's today? Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you on Saturday from the Paranormal Expo. Until Saturday, and I'm getting a distraction to go anyway, here with that. So I have to go anyway too, because external circumstances. Okay, everyone, see you Saturday.